I lost 7 years of client and personal data. Now what? Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus. So good. You got the bergamot, a little bit of zing, peppermint. So good, guys. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea or maybe a cup of coffee or maybe something stronger, as I always say. Depends on what part of the planet you're on. So today I want to go over backup and how I lost a ton of both personal as well as client data. This was a couple of years ago and I want to tell you my story. So hopefully the information that I give you will prove helpful so that you don't lose your data. It doesn't matter if it's client or personal, it's all extremely important. So we know today, as a digital world, we make a ton of data, right? We're continuously producing vast amounts. Doesn't matter if it's photo, video, music, documents, whatever, we're making a ton of data. And our risk of losing it due to catastrophic failure, some type of data loss, has vastly increased. Why? Because the drives are becoming larger and larger and larger, and we're stuffing them with a ton of data. Now, hopefully most of you are using the 3-2-1 backup strategy or rule. Basically what that says is you have to have 3 copies of your data. If not, you might as well not even have it because it's not secure. So you have a primary or live data copy that you're using all the time. That's probably on like an SSD or something that read-writes quickly. Now next, you have a secondary version. Now your secondary backup, I would call it an archival backup. Now that's basically on a different type of data storage. So if you have SSDs for your primary, I would say hard drives would be good for your secondary or your archival storage. And that is where your backups live. That is your archival backup. So if something goes wrong with your primary, you can go to your archive and pull off that data. And finally, your third backup needs to be offsite. So that backup is what I call cold storage. That is the backup of the backup of the backup, right? You would take that and then ship it away to mom and dad's house or inside of a safety deposit box or somewhere offsite. So if there's fire or a hurricane or some type of natural disaster, the backup or the archival backup that's at your location is not the only backup you have, and it's not lost forever due to that fire or hurricane or whatever. While some of us do it, a lot of us don't, and it is very, very important. Now, for me, I used to do a lot of external drive backups. So I would have everything on the computer, and then what I would do is I would take that data once a day, once a week, or whatever, and I'd move it over to external hard drives. But those external hard drives, matter of fact, just something like this, right? Little external hard drive. Now the problem with this method is once you have everything on these external drives, what would happen is it's very difficult to find anything. Number one, the drives are very slow. If you do a manual, like brute force search for anything, it's extremely slow. And even if you search using the file system, sometimes it's even slower going through these drives to find exactly what you're looking for. I did all kinds of crazy things, even numbering the drives, putting the years on the drives, putting the numbers on the drive. I think you get it, right? To try to figure out how to find stuff that I'm looking for. So if it's 2021 now and I need something for a client that I know we did about 5-6 years ago, and we're like, okay, let's look through 2017, 2018, and there's drive after drive after drive, and you have to plug them in individually, and you're searching. It's very difficult to find anything. So I started doing some research on cloud backup, and there was a lot of people doing cloud backup and saying, yeah, it works out fantastic. But in my situation, there was a little bit problematic. Number one, uploading into the cloud for me would be brutally slow because I don't have fiber access in my location. So using the internet that we currently have, it would literally take months to take all these terabytes and put them into the cloud. That's number one. And at this time, I started talking to some colleagues of mine. I said, hey, do you use cloud backup? They're like, yeah. But the problem is when we have a internet disruption, let's say, and the internet is out at the studio or at their location, we have no access to our data. And their clients had data that had a deadline to it, and they couldn't get the data back. They ended up having to go to a Starbucks, use their computer, download it, and then ship it off to the client. Very problematic. Also, what I did is I found that there was a lot of these cloud services out there. I'm not going to name names. One starts with a G, one with an A. You know who they are. And others, even major camera manufacturers that offered cloud storage that were losing people's data. One of those major camera manufacturers literally lost months and months of both videos as well as photos, and there was no way to get it back. And the thing that a lot of people didn't understand, and they still don't today, is that when you sign up for these cloud services, there's a TOS, or a terms of service, that you have to agree to that basically says there is no recourse if we lose your data. That's it. If we lose it, sorry, that's the end of it. And what I found was that people that were using the cloud backups really thought that it was super secure and that they couldn't lose any data. And that's just simply not the case. Cloud backup, cloud services are just like real clouds. Eventually it rains, and when it rains, all of your data comes out. It's lost forever to the sands of digital time, and that's the end of it. So for me, I'm like, cloud service is just not going to work for me. Is it okay to back up to the cloud as a secondary or tertiary form of just sticking it out there into the ether? Yeah, it's all right, but that's as an extra solution. So what I did is I made a list of requirements for a backup strategy of mine. And I put together this list. Number one, I said that I need to have some type of archival backup that is local. It can't be somewhere far away. It needs to be local and accessible by me, even if the internet is down. That is very important to me. Also, I needed a backup system that I would easily be able to parse through all of the data, search through all the data, find client information, client files like this. I couldn't spend minutes, hours, sometimes days looking for client data that was very difficult to find because I have terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of these external piles of drives. So that was another requirement. And unlike the stack of external drives that I have, they need to be able to automatically safeguard the data, automatically back themselves up. So instead of me making a backup and then a backup of that backup and finally a backup of a backup of a backup to go and send out into cold storage, it needs to be able to do all of the, let's say, from beginning to archival by itself in the background. And the only thing that I would have left is to be able to create a backup of all of that to send into cold storage somewhere. And that is it. So that was another important portion of it. And finally, all of this data has to be available to me in a moment's notice. 24/7, 365 days a year, available, right? Online at any given time. So I ended up finding a system called a RAID system. So I ended up buying one of these systems, and I'm not going to tell you which manufacturer it is, but it is a major brand. You would know exactly who it is. And I was extremely happy because I was able to take all of the data off all of these external hard drives as well as loose drives, okay, and stick all of this data into this RAID, so that it's all in there, and now I would be able to access them. And that's what I did. How long did it take? Did it take days to move it all over? No.
3 weeks later.
It took like weeks. Okay, remember, some of these hard drives are USB 2, and to bring that data over, even if you're putting it through the network, is slow. Terabytes and terabytes and terabytes. It literally took me weeks to move it all over. But after everything was said and done, I was able to access everything. It was all secure, and everything was well and good, or at least it sounded that way, right? Well, not so fast, right? Not so fast. RAID, where a lot of people think that it is bulletproof, the thing is it's not, all right? And I knew this as being a tech guy, but I really didn't give it too much thought because I figured this is a brand new appliance that I just bought, brand new hard drives, brand new everything. I should be okay. Well, that's not really how it went down. So what ended up happening was one drive died. And what happens with these appliances, they send you an email and say, hey, drive 3 It's red. There's a failure. We need you to put in a new drive ASAP so that we can rebuild. Well, as soon as I saw that failure notice came in, that alert, I went into Amazon, bought a brand new drive, and 2 days later, I got the drive in. On the third day, I was going to install the drive, and guess what happened? As luck has it, another drive failed. Before I was able to rebuild the system with that brand new drive that I have, another drive failed. Now, if you don't know it, if you have a RAID 5 and 2 drives fail, guess what happens?
Warning. Core overheating. Nuclear meltdown imminent.
Everything is lost. All data, all drives, everything is lost forever. You're not getting it back. That's the end of it. All right? And this is exactly what happened. Murphy's Law, as they have it. And as they say, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And that's exactly what did. Luckily, all of these drives were still full of my data. Even though I used that appliance for 1 year and it failed after about a year and a month, I was still backing up my data onto these external drives because I just did it. It was just something that was in me, ingrained into me, that I just need to keep on making these backups. And I did. I put them off-site, in cold storage, as we call it. That was the smartest thing that I did. So even though I lost literally like 7 years of both personal and client data, and it took me about a month to get it all back, I did have all of my data back. So what did I do? I did some more research, and after weeks of researching, what can I do? RAID 5's not working. Should I go to RAID 6? Should I do a RAID 2? What should I do? I ended up finding UNRAID. And UNRAID was one of these things that I was looking through all of the specs, and I'm like, this can really work. I went through everything. The list was longer now. You remember the short list I had before? Before it was like, it needs to be an archival backup, it needs to be local, accessible, and if the internet goes down, I'm still okay, right? And then I had one that says I need to be able to parse through everything, I need to be able to search through stuff, and I need to be able to search through things and find stuff quickly. All right, it did that. And unlike the stacked external drives, right, it needs to be able to automatically safeguard the data. Well, UNRAID does that too. I need to be able to access it 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. UNRAID did it too. But where things changed and this list, let's say, became longer is from my time with that server that I had, that appliance that I bought. And what happened was that list now ended up saying, well, I don't want to lose all of my data because 2 drives die. I can't afford that. So UNRAID will not lose all of your data. So if I had the exact same server that I had, but it was UNRAID instead of the RAID, and I lost 2 drives out of the 5, guess what? 2 drives of data would have been gone, where 3 drives of data still would have been perfectly intact and accessible. Now, you can put other safeguards in place so that if you lose 2 drives, you don't lose anything at all. But even if you didn't, I would have still had 3 drives of data, not lost everything, and just the 2 would have been bad. So that was a big plus for me when I saw that. Also, I wanted to make sure that I can use my own drives. So drives that I had, maybe old drives, maybe new drives. With the RAID arrays that you buy, they put their own drives in there. You don't know what they are, what kind of quality they are. You don't know anything about them. I want to be able to use mine. Not only can I use mine and know that the quality is good, but also it's cheaper because if I already have drives, I can use them. I don't have to pay all of this money for all these brand new drives when I have drives that are perfectly good. So that was very important. Also, I wanted to be able to mix and match drives, and that was something that RAID Array allowed me to do. It didn't matter what size they were. I could just throw anything into them and it would be fine. And finally, there was no more expense for off-the-shelf solutions, right? That major expense for the enclosure or whatnot. I would be able to build my own and then throw my drives into it. So UNRAID was the way for me to go. And what I did is I built a computer out of parts, literally 10-year-old parts out of my garage, and I called it Harley. And I put all of my old hard drives in there. I bought some new hard drives. I got that thing rolling and painstakingly copied all of those terabytes over to it. All of those terabytes from these drives and all the other drives. Terabytes. I think it was like 17 terabytes or more. It was a ton. And after weeks of doing that, everything was like new. I ran this system for over a year now, not a single issue. All of my data now is locally stored, it's safe, it's redundantly backed up. I don't have to worry about it. If the internet goes down, I don't have to worry about that. If I want to add more data, more hard drives to it, I can just throw in more hard drives at will. Everything just simply works. So, of course, I still have to make my cold storage backups to go send away. But now my stress level has gone from like 11 down to like a 3. I can relax because the UNRAID server just does what it does. It just runs all day long, 24/7. No hiccups. I don't have to worry about it. And once again, this was done with old parts out of my garage. So this is the stuff that I do. I am an inventor. I invent stuff and then I test it for months, sometimes years, like with this. This was running for over a year. And then finally, once everything is working, I'll take that invention and I'll offer it to my friends, family, photographers, videographers, tech heads, you guys, and say, here it is. I've tested it. I've done all of the work. I put the gold stamp on it. I say, this is the way to go. And that is exactly what I've done today. Can you see this back here, guys? After months and months and months of working on it, this book right here is done. Let me grab it. See that? We got some glare there, but hopefully you can read that. How to create a digital Fort Knox, backing up your digital life. This is a book that I put together over many, many months as a way to help myself as well as help you guys out. It takes you through my journey of creating this UNRAID server that I call Harley. Don't judge. That I call Harley. How I made it, and I go through a step-by-step, concise, very concise and pithy process of how I created it. And instead of just telling you how, I add to that with the why behind everything. The parts that I use. Why did I use each part? The software setup. Why did I make the decisions in the setup that I do? The reason I did this is to make sure that this book is evergreen. It doesn't matter if you look at the book today or if you take a look at it in 5 years from now, you're going to get a ton of good information out of it. Maybe the methodology might change a little bit inside the software, but understanding why I selected the parts that I selected is perfect for you guys because the parts that I selected are 10 years old and you can't buy them anyways. That's why I did it. This way you can look at the parts, buy your own parts, or use the parts that you have and understand why each part is being used. That is the most critical thing. Knowledge is empowerment, right? I give you the knowledge to be able to put this together, and then I walk you through, hand-holding you through the step-by-step. So you know why things are being set up the way they are. So the security that I'm putting into it, you know why I am doing it, and you can choose to be even more secure or less secure. It's completely up to you. This is very, very important to me. I felt a need to make sure that it was very concise, very easy, step-by-step, but also giving you that why. The why is so important. So what I've done is, if you want to get a free copy of this prologue, of the book itself, okay, the very beginning of this book, and you want that free copy of the prologue, you can go to JCristina.com/books, and you'll see there a means of just getting the free copy. It's a PDF, you download it. If you feel like you want to go on this journey with me and create your own, I've come up with multiple formats because I know people don't necessarily want to get a hard copy. Okay, this is a soft cover. It's a beautiful, they did such a good job. Look at this. See that? It's color through and through. I don't know if you can see anyways. So it is absolutely beautiful. I encourage you to pick one of those up, but you can also get an ebook that is a PDF of the entire book, number one. You can get a Kindle version if you like to read on your Kindle. Or you can get the hard copy, which is this soft cover, or this soft cover with my signature on it. So there's 4 different methods. I encourage you to download the freebie, that prologue, read through it, and you'll get more information of what I've been talking about for the last 10, 15 minutes. Now, once again, I hope that you take this journey with me, backing up your digital life, because I think it is extremely, extremely important. Putting it all together for yourself, instead of buying something that is off the shelf, it provides you that understanding that I'm talking about. I think it is very important to know what things do and not just allow them to do whatever. And then when there's a problem, you throw your hands up in the air and you're frantically calling someone to fix something for you. Knowledge, once again, is power. And in this book, I give you all of the knowledge, step by step, how to do it, but then the knowledge of the why. That is so, so important. And to be able to use your old parts, I think is awesome. You can decide to use old parts. You can decide to buy new parts. You can have some old, some new. You can use expensive components. You can use cheap components. The components that I use to create Harley, my server that's been running for over a year now, flawlessly, is parts that were from 10 years ago, and they've been sitting in the heat for 10 years. And they work, everything is 100% fine, and it's literally old like technology. I think it's a Pentium Duo or something. Old technology. The beauty of these systems are they don't need a lot of power. Okay, so you don't need to have a very robust server just to create an archival backup like what we're doing here. So that is very important because you can save a lot of money. And also at any time, you can add additional drives into this array and expand it from, let's say, 14 terabytes to 20 terabytes, from 20 to 40 terabytes. Right now, I think I have about 32 terabytes of available space. So that to me is enough for what we're doing right now. Once again, 1080p, 4K video, photos that are massive. They use a lot of space and they do it quickly, and being able to just mix and match and throw any drive in there and put it straight into production, let's say, as a live backup drive is just so powerful, I can't even explain it. In comparison to buying something that's off the shelf, that whatever you get is what you get. And there's really not too much expansion that you can do after that besides buying another one and maybe tethering them together or something. So basically, this gives you complete control over your backup. Now, on a side note, and I think that this is important, one of the biggest RAID array server companies, and I'm not going to say who, but it's the exact same company that I had a problem with where I lost all of my data due to 2 drives failing. That company lost a lot of client data. How did this happen? Well, there was a back door in their software that ended up getting exploited. Not good. There's other companies out there that make these RAID servers that are off-the-shelf type of servers that have been hit with ransomware attacks, where people that have them plugged in can get hit with ransomware or get hit with external sources that they don't even know who is actually doing it, and literally data is disappearing. And some of these companies have told people, if you have our product, pull them out of the wall right now, unplug them until we can figure it out and send you a patch. Not that good, guys. And this is where building your own unit gives you the understanding of security and how to secure the unit, what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. Very, very important. There is no better time than the present to really back up and secure your digital life. There is no better time. People put this off all the time. They go and throw all of their data continuously on these things. And then later on, they're like, I don't even know what's where, who's what do I do with them? And then one fails and now it's gone. Just don't do that. It just doesn't make sense. So once again, join me on this journey. Go over to JCristina.com/books. Go download that prologue. It is free. And also what I'm going to do is the first 50 books that I have, the first 50 books, we have 500 more coming, but these first 50 books, what I'm going to do is each one of them, as they're purchased, I'm going to sign them and send them off. Now, these are purchases that come from the website, JCristina.com, not from Amazon. You can buy the book on Amazon and everywhere else, but if you buy them from me on the JCristina.com/books, if you go there and you make a purchase there, it's going to be signed. The first 50 will be signed. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. I really wanted to share this journey. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I really hope this information will help people worldwide. When you lose data, it doesn't matter if it's client data or personal data, it hurts. There's people out there, and you might be one of those people, that literally have phone loads of pictures that were lost because it went into the drink sometime, or it got run over or crushed. And now literally like your kid's baptism or your kid's graduation, or all of these family photos you've been collecting for 2 years, they're all gone. And all of these videos, priceless videos, all gone. Don't do that. Back this stuff up and do it properly. And that's what I'm doing here with this UNRAID server that I call Harley. So once again, join me. Join me. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this even a little bit, give this video a thumbs up. Tell your friends, family, colleagues, tell people about it. If you're on a forum someplace, tell people about this video, and hopefully it can help more people. That would be very helpful. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe and click this little bell icon over here. If you click that, when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, you can do so in 2 different ways. You can click down here where it says join. You become a member. I can give you perks. You give the channel $1 or $2 a month. That helps out a lot. Or if you just want to send a couple of bucks to this starving artist, you can do so right here. Use jctipjar@gmail.com. Once again, jctipjar@gmail.com. Send a couple of bucks, buy me a cup of tea or whatever. You can do that. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the inventions that I've invented over the many years for you and me. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That would be much appreciated. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and back up that data. Take care, guys.